Hello everyone, and welcome back to Make a Website Lessons on Codecademy. So in the last lesson we started looking at CSS, and we looked at how a few simple things such as that you can have inline CSS, you can have external CSS, how to link your HTML with your CSS, and some simpler things like that. So today we're going to be expanding on that, so let's get started. The new font looks great. However, black is not your only option when it comes to font color. In CSS, the color property, spelled without a U, sets the color of a CSS selector's font. So if you were targeting the H1, so if your selector was H1, if you don't know what the selector property and the attributes are, make sure to check out the last video. So if your selector is H1 and your attribute is color, you can set it to any color you want. In this case, we're setting it to red. So CSS comes equipped with 140 named colors such as red used above. For many situations, those named colors will suffice. However, web developers who want to get even more exact with their color choices can use hexadecimal and RGB color values. So hexadecimal color is written in the form of a pound symbol, then you have 2 numbers for red, 2 numbers for green, and 2 numbers for blue, RGB. Hexadecimal values that represent mixtures of red, green, and blue, because all light is made up of those 3 colors. For example, red can be expressed with the hexadecimal value of FF0000. F is the biggest number because it's in hexadecimal, and 0 is the smallest. The value FF represents red, and FF would actually be 255, if I am correct, with 00 being 0. 00 represents green, and 00 represents blue. So if you're writing in hexadecimal, then each 2 numbers that you put in are for a different color. RGB, red, green, blue colors. Color created by 3 numbers representing red, green, and blue. When mixed together, the 3 values create a specific color. For example, purple can be represented as 1280, so you're mixing red and blue. If you mix red and green, I believe you get yellow, green and blue, I think you just get greenish blue, turquoise, and yeah, those are the combinations. So if you want to look up more about hexadecimal colors, then just Google it. You can find quite a lot about it. This course won't really go much into that. It's just going to be mentioned. So H1 heading elements on the Mistwood publishing website are colored black by default. And usually when you have some kind of font, it's going to be black by default. So let's change them to red. In main.css, locate the H1 selector over here. Directly underneath the line of code where you added the font family property, add color and red with a semicolon at the end, and color spelled correctly. Click run to view the color change in the web browser. So which element has H1? This one. So that's going to be this. So this should go red once I click run. Good. That is exactly what happened. Replace red with a different named color. Here are some options. Antique white, chocolate, dark olive green, deep sky blue. Let's see antique white. I wonder if we're actually going to be able to see it. Let's run. Oh, okay, so it's like that kind of a color. Okay, fair enough. Hex color provide millions of different shades of color. I think it's something like 7 million colors, or was it 17 million? I'm not too sure. If you can just see the number, so it goes from 0 to 255 to the power of 6. I'm not sure. Just, yeah, that doesn't matter for now. Try replacing the named color with one of the hex colors below. So we have 2E69A3. Let's see, let's put that in here. So we have 2E for red, 69 for green, and A3 for blue. Let's run it and see what color that is. I can't really preempt or guess what it is. So it's like a blue color. It's a nice deep blue color. I guess like a text no, not text color, denim color. That's what I would call it. The hex colors listed in the previous step can also be created using RGB values. Try this out swapping out the hex color value on the left for the RGB value on the right. See the result in the browser. So 2E translates to 46 in decimal, or yeah, if so this is in hexadecimal base, and then this is in decimal base, so 10. If you swap this out, we should get the same result. As you can see, we got the exact same result. We can also swap this out just to show you that they're the same thing, and we get like a greenish color. And if we swap this out for that, we should still have this exact same color. Let's run, and we have the exact same color. So let's move on. Up to this point, we've only used CSS to select an HTML element by its tag name only. However, we can use class selectors to target classes of HTML elements. Now this is where things get a lot more interesting and I guess complicated, but it's a good complicated. You'll see what I mean. Consider the HTML below. So you have a div, and then inside it you have a heading and a paragraph. And you don't want to target every div, you just want to target this specific div, because not every div is going to have these elements, and you're not going to want to set out every div in the same way. Here the div is the parent element and the h2 and p are children. CSS styles applied to the header class selector will automatically apply to the h2 and the p, but the h2 and the p that are inside this div, no other h2 and p. Here's a refresh on the parent and child elements. If you want to check it out, you can. I will hover over it, and also you can watch my previous videos to see how that works. In CSS, class selectors can be identified by a dot, or full stop, period, whatever you want to call it, followed by the class name as seen below. So in this case, because the class is header, you do dot header, and then you do that's your selector. Then you have the attribute and whatever that was called, the selector and then the attribute, sorry. As a result of this code, child elements of divs with the header class will have a font color of white, or 6 times F. Below, we will use a CSS class selector to style more than one HTML element at once. So websites often use more than one font family, because you want different accents on different things. You want something to be more visible than other things, you want something to look more formal than something else. In the index.html, the h2 heading and paragraph elements are contained inside a div with a class of hero. So let's find h2, there's h2, and we have the div. Let's actually separate this because it's kind of annoying me that it's not separated. There we go. So h2 is there, and the class is hero for this div. And in main.css, add properties for the .hero class selector that change the font family to Trebuchet MS. So this is our hero class. We want to change the font family to Trebuchet MS, and I think that's supposed to go in quotation marks. There we go. And I don't want a quotation mark there. As you can see, that did actually change, but that was the first step, with fallbacks of Helvetica and sans serif. So we separated my comma, Helvetica, and sans serif. So that's the most default one. You can use the code below as a guide. Good, we have done that. Important, in main.css, two properties, padding and margin, are seen with the class hero selector. We will cover these in unit 3, CSS boundaries and spacing. So padding and margin will be covered later on. Click run to view your changes in the browser. Notice how child elements of the div with class hero now appear in the Trebuchet MS font. And what I'm missing here is a semicolon. Good. So as you can see, the font definitely changed from what it was before. So I think sans serif is similar to what's it called? It's Comic Sans. So I'm going to put that first just to see. Nope, it's not. Never mind. Sorry. Sorry, Comic Sans. I'm really sorry. Moving on. The size of text has an impact of how users experience a website. The font size property sets the size of an HTML element's text. So if you wanted to change how big your heading 1 was, you could do something like this. You can change this to however many pixels you want. In the CSS above, font size is set to 50 pixels. In CSS, size can be assigned in pixels, rems, or EMS. So pixels, standard unit of measurement for sizing fonts and other elements. But there are problems with that, such as if you have a 4K monitor which is only 17 inches, for example. I don't think those exist, but if you had that, then text with the size of 60 pixels will appear much smaller than if you had a 17-inch monitor with 1080p resolution, for example. Because the pixel density in a 4K monitor is much greater than that of on a 1080p monitor. In those cases, you have things like EM and REM. So REM represents the default font size for the web browser. REMs can be used to ensure that HTML elements scale in proportion to each other on various web browsers and screen sizes. So this will not cause problems if your pixel density is greater. But then if you don't really have as much flexibility with this as you would with pixels, because it's just some kind of a default value that you will be given from the user's device or browser. On most web browsers, 1 rem is equivalent to 16 pixels, 2 rem is equivalent to 32 pixels, and 3 rem is equivalent to 48 pixels, a tripling, and so on. So 4 would be 64. Then you also have EM, a relative value that changes in proportion to the size of the parent element. For example, if a parent element has font size 20 pixels, child elements with font size 1 EM would be equivalent to 20 pixels. Child elements with font size 0.5 EM would be equivalent to 10 pixels, a halving, and so on. If you have 2 EM, which you can, you would have 40 pixel size. So this depends on what the child is in. So for example, if you had the heading size to be 1 EM and the body default size is 20 pixels, then this would be 20 pixels. If you have any questions, do feel free to ask in the comments down below. So the H2 heading for the Mistwood publishing website would be more impressive if its font size were larger. I don't understand. Isn't this supposed to be was? Okay. In main.css, locate the H2 selector and set font size to 48 pixels. H2, here we go. So we want, instead of 32, we want 48. That's done. Click run, notice how the heading increases in the website, in the web browser. So that's the current size. When I click run, it should increase by a third. Okay, I guess it did. I didn't really notice that much of a change, but oh well. 2. 48 pixels may still be too small for a heading. Change the font size value of the heading 2 selector to 56 pixels. Run. Okay, we did that as well. Now let's get some experience using rem values. So in main.css, for the paragraph selector, add font size to rem. I want to indent it. Again, with indentation, you don't have to do it, but sometimes it's much better to make your code much more readable. More easily to find things out in it and that stuff. Click run to see results in the browser. As you can see, the size of these did actually change. The paragraph element on the web page should double in size. So our paragraph elements, so every paragraph element, this one and this one, double in size. Note the paragraph element at the bottom of the page has also increased in size. We will fix this effect later on in the lesson, probably in the next video. Now let's resize anchor elements that are children of elements with the hero class using EM values. So in main.css, locate the hero class A selector. So here, change the font size property to 1.25 em. Oh no, not this one, sorry. So here you can target, so if you are targeting this class, this isn't explained well, but you're targeting this class, so the class hero in div. You can go even more specific, so you are targeting the A that is in the class hero, which is this here. So you're targeting the A that's inside of hero. What you can also do is target the H1 that's in the body, for example, or the P that's in the div. How you would target the P that's in the div was by doing div and then P. So div and P. So that's if you wanted to target something more specifically. That hasn't been explained, I don't know why, but yeah, I think that was worth explaining. And then, so let's actually do this, change font size to 1.25 em, semicolon. Click run to see the anchor element size decrease. So what is our anchor element? This is our anchor element, read now, let's run, and its size definitely decreased. So if you guys have any questions about what we have covered in this video or in any of the other videos, as long as you tell me which one it is, do feel free to ask in the comments down below. Also, if you like this video, then please give it a like, share, subscribe, it helps me out, it motivates me to make more videos, and it educates the world, hopefully, if that's even a thing. So if you guys didn't enjoy it though, please give me a dislike and tell me in the comments how I can improve for next time. But until that next time guys, thank you so much for watching and goodbye.